Hello everyone and welcome to the next video. Today's video is going to be on the subject of earth-centered sacrality, a subject that I've been thinking about for the past maybe year and a half or so even. I recently submitted my thesis, Masters of Research thesis, Wonders Native Haunt, Earth-Centered Sacrality and the Fantasies of Lord Dunsany and J.R.R. Tolkien. This world is wondrous in and of itself, and the experience of wonder is fundamentally relational. It values the circumstantial, the contingent. There's no need to evoke, in my understanding, there's no need to evoke anything to do with the transcendent, the abstract. It's wholly material, but also spiritual. That's kind of the fundamental ontological basis of wonder. So in my introduction, I've been very careful to avoid equating wonder with fantasy, because wonder cannot be equated with the strange and otherworldly. Because again, wonder points to this earth. The only thing that can be real and meaningful for us is this earth. So I was very careful to try and align my thesis with terms and concepts and ideas that have more in common with relationality, humility, plurality, as opposed to the strange, the otherworldly, the sublime, the terrifying, the numinous, things like this. Dunsany is an author who is rather obscure, especially when it comes to the early fantasists. He was very, very much influential in his time. However, he's obviously faded into obscurity. And as a result of that, his appreciation of the natural world is not very much known at all. But Tolkien, on the other hand, Tolkien being one of the more obvious father of fantasy, countless studies on his understanding of the natural world, and he really set the stage, I suppose, for fantasy as we know it today. However, Dunsany, I fully and wholeheartedly believe that Dunsany has so much in common with Tolkien, and that's what my thesis is about. Their central concerns were very, very similar. The adoption of a pluralistic regard for other beings, and the promotion of humility in human nature relations. That's really the main intent of the thesis and what draws them together. And I think that researchers currently haven't really grasped that Dunsany's fiction is very much rooted in the values inherent in a stance of wonderment. Dunsany's whole purpose in writing was to affirm humanity's place in the universe, not above, but integrated. And so when the gods create Earth, they say Earth was made to wonder, and Earth was. That's notable because the wandering stance is not based on a desire to transcend our limitations through toil and hardship. Hepburn says wonder is unlike the puritanical mindset. Wonder doesn't deflect our attention away from the world. It actually it amplifies our appreciation of reality, just as it is, because we're not striving for something else. That idea underlies Dunsany's Pegana mythology. And so the account of the Silmarillion itself, beginning with the Ainulindalë. The Ainulindalë is fascinating because it's an instantiation of Tolkien's theory of subcreation, because Iluvatar, the Most High God, is creating with the Ainur, the artist spirits. They are creating the secondary world, and they enter into it, as it were, as we would enter into Tolkien's own fantasies. So I really wanted to just try and bolster the concept of the third hemisphere by aligning this with the characteristics and values of wonder, and specifically in relation to Curry's ideas of logos and mythos. How logos represents reason, maleness, heaven, and mythos is emotion, earth, and the female. But also logos has more in common with time and space, whereas mythos is all about place and moment. So I wanted to say that Dunsany's fiction, and I was quite happy with this. I think it ties everything together. Dunsany's fiction is fundamentally about weakening the power of logos and kind of infusing it with mythos. That Dunsany wanted to, again, attain a kind of more of a mythic perception of reality, to open up other ways of seeing, to bring back natural beauty associated with the past. All things become significant. He feels that he is almost able to communicate with the trees, that the crows or the ravens are in the field are looking at him strangely. And this is really where I start to talk about the connection between fairy and wonder and enchantment. Tolkien himself said that in fairy we believe that the scientific facts and laws are only one way of seeing the world. He says that he actually says crossing the border of fairy. You can see the connection there with the border of Elfland, the twilight border. I will summarise in this manner. Dunsany and Tolkien, although they have different cultural backgrounds and different beliefs, they are fundamentally drawn towards the same concerns, and that is how humans must live with nature, our relationship to the earth.